Hello, my dear friends. Today is April 30th. You are on the channel Sanya in Florida. As always, here is a news summary from the Ukrainian front. Today we have the news agenda, and of course we'll go over the map. Well then, let's start with Ukraine. There in the Rivne region, in the village of Verba, a very alarming and unclear situation is unfolding. A man was riding his bicycle when suddenly he was stopped by the punitive TCC officers. Of course, they started putting pressure on him. Give us money or you'll end up in the slammer. Well, the man wasn't one to be messed with and opened targeted fire on the pigs with an automatic rifle. 2 of the pigs were wounded. Yes, we're very concerned about them. Very, very much. I hope they're all right. Everything is just great for them. Really wonderful. Anyway, they're looking for the man. I think they'll just find another homeless guy, as always, declare him guilty, and present him to the public like, look, our crime-solving rate is literally 100%. Wonderful. Excellent. Next, we move to Kharkiv. Everything is just wonderful there too. There, a vehicle belonging to the Ukrainian military was blown up. Right here on your screen, you can see the car burning. And judging by the explosion, they must have had ammunition inside, no doubt. Several grenades, maybe some explosives or something else. It went off with quite a bang, a pretty big one. Now let's move on to world news. Let's talk about what happened between Putin and Trump. They had a heart-to-heart conversation that lasted an hour and a half. Well, Trump just came out afterwards, looking so inspired, just gazing into the distance with hope. He started telling everyone what a wonderful, excellent conversation it was, that the war would end very soon, that everything would be fine. Among other things, Trump has already announced that he destroyed 159 Ukrainian ships and dealt Ukraine a military defeat. Ukraine, they've already suffered a complete military defeat. You won't read this in the fake news. Their fleet, they had 150 ships and they all sank. That's good, right, Jeremy? All it took was an hour and a half to talk with Putin. So, according to Trump, he has already dealt Ukraine a military defeat. Personally, there were a couple of things I didn't quite understand. Write in the comments what you think about this. How exactly did the US deal a military defeat to Ukraine? Now, let's move on. LPDS perm. Now, onto some serious news. There was another strike there on April 30th. New explosions and smoke. The Ukrainian side reports that the strikes allegedly hit the primary processing facility. Here on your screen are some materials. The explosion there really shot up into the stratosphere. Something exploded there, really, really powerfully. But it's okay, everything is fine. There's Governor Makonnen over there. He reported that there were no casualties and also said that there was no significant damage. I have a question here. What exactly shot up into the stratosphere? And why are there so many videos online showing tanks burning and exploding there, with massive fires breaking out that are completely out of control? So, I'm left wondering here, what is really happening at the Perm LPDS? What other topics did Trump and Putin discuss? Putin expressed his support for Trump after the attempt on his life, condemned political violence, and sent his regards to the First Lady. The conversation took place in a friendly and candid atmosphere. Well, that's wonderful. The situation in Ukraine? Putin said that Russian troops have the initiative and are pushing back the enemy. Indeed, here on your screen is a chart showing the advance of Russian forces. In April, Russian troops advanced by about 300 square kilometers, which is a bit less than last year, but several times more than the year before last. Now let's move to the map of the Ukrainian front. We're moving to this point right here. Let's start with the Dnipro. Here is Dnipropetrovsk Dievka 1. This is where new geomaterials of damage to Ukrainian infrastructure come from. On your screen, the destruction of Ukrainian infrastructure facilities. A strike by the Russian armed forces on a storage tank at an oil depot in Dnipropetrovsk. Fire at the facility, located approximately 90 kilometers from the active combat zone. Next, we move along the line of combat contact. Now, Turovo, we move there in this way. Turovo is located right here. This is where new geomaterials are coming from. Destruction of a Ukrainian armored recovery vehicle, Brem, in the settlement of Turovo, in this section of the front. On your screen, UAV operators from the Rubezh Brigade detected and destroyed an enemy Brem 1 in the Kharkov direction. Next, we follow the line of contact. Now, Kupiansk, Kovsharovka. This is how we move to this section of the front. Here so far there are no changes along the line of contact, but new geomaterials allow us to confirm that this is exactly how the map looks today. New geomaterials are coming in showing the positions of Russian forces in this section of the front. On your screen, the forward position of the armed forces of the Russian Federation in an administrative building on the outskirts of Kovsharovka has been shelled by the Ukrainian armed forces. Next, we follow the line of contact. Now, Krasny Liman, Yampol, to this section of the front. Here, according to the geomaterial, Ukrainian troops are encircled at this point. This material is on your screen. A serviceman of the Ukrainian armed forces came under fire from a Russian armed forces drone in the residential area of Yampol. Combat operations are taking place 4 kilometers deep within the zone controlled by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Now we move to the Konstantinovka area. Several reports are coming from there at once from the Russian Ministry of Defense, from Novodmitrovka and Ilyinovka. First, Novodmitrovka, here it is, located near Konstantinovka. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, as a result of decisive actions by units of the Southern Military Group, Novodmitrovka in the Donetsk People's Republic has been liberated. So far, there is no geolocated material to confirm this. Now, Ilyinovka. Similar reports are coming from here from the Russian Ministry of Defense. As a result of decisive actions by units of the Southern Military Group, Ilyinovka in the Donetsk People's Republic has been liberated. From here, there are immediately 2 pieces of geolocated material confirming this, showing Russian flags in this section of the front. On your screen, service members of the Russian armed forces raise Russian flags in a residential area of Ilyinovka, confirming the transition of the settlement to the control of the Russian armed forces, increasing the control zone to 1 kilometer. Russian war correspondents also report from here on the advancement of Russian forces. Let's move on. Now, Krasnoarmysk, Lenino. We move like this. New materials are coming from here, confirming the lines of combat contact. On your screen, a forward position of the Russian armed forces on the border of the DPR and Dnipropetrovsk region came under fire from the Ukrainian armed forces. Now, Huliepole, Varvarovka. Next, we continue along the line of combat contact. There, the advance of Ukrainian forces has already been recorded according to geomaterials. Combat operations here are taking place within a 2-kilometer deep zone controlled by the Russian armed forces. The positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Varvarovka are in this section of the front. On your screen, you see shelling by the Russian armed forces targeting the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Varvarovka. That is, if Russian troops are striking this section of the front, it means Ukrainian forces have been spotted there. According to the geomaterials, the map correction looks like this, shown in a different color. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Be sure to subscribe to the Telegram channel, to Max, and to RootTube. Video briefings are posted there every day. Thank you. Goodbye.